Welcome back everybody to the Rocky Mountain ATV MC YouTube channel. My name is Josh and today I'm going to be sharing with you how to change a tire with a Mousse using the Neutron Speed Pro tire changer. Now in my racing career, I've spent a lot of time competing in enduro events, particularly the ISDE. And during those events, it's required of the rider to actually do their own motorcycle maintenance and change their tires. So we had to get really quick and fast at changing our own tires. I spent a lot of time practicing this particular method, which I'm going to share with you today. So let's get into it. Step number one is our setup. I have an 18-inch rear tire and I have the rim lock completely loose. And I've mounted the tire on the stand with the sprocket side down. I'm going to put my safety glasses on, use some gloves, and I prefer, the method that we're going to be using today, I prefer to use 15-inch curved tire irons. This gives me the flat side or the curved side as an option. Step number two is to dismount our tire. I'm going to orient the tire with the rim lock at 3 o'clock, and then using the arm for some help, I'm going to go ahead and start placing my tire irons using the flat side. So I'll press down hard on the arm and then insert the tire iron in. Just like that. And then insert a new tire iron about every 2 to 3 inches. I like to use 5 tire irons during this process. Once you've got all 5 tire irons in, you'll go ahead and start to turn over each iron to get that first side of the tire off. And because we use the flat side, we can quickly remove our tire irons. Next, we're going to flip the tire over with the sprocket side up, orient the area that we've now started to remove near the foot and the arm. Using the arm, we're going to push down and start to push that tire off of the rim. Once I have the majority of the tire removed, I'm going to orient the rim lock near 6 o'clock. Using the arm, I'm going to take a really small bite to push the second side of the tire off. Using my palm to hold it in place, I will continue to inch around the tire, taking really small bites, and start to work that second half of the tire off. You'll be able to get most of the tire off with exception to the last little bit that's hanging onto the rim lock. This tire changer is equipped with a little feature that allows you to orient the foot at a different angle, and by pushing this lever up to the top, I can orient that foot and push the tire completely off of the wheel. Taking my rim off and getting my tire ready, I can now start step number 3, which is to mount my tire. Again, I like to work with the sprocket side down as much as possible, so I'll place the wheel back on the stand, sprocket side down, orient the rim lock to about 6 o'clock. I'll take my new tire. Be sure if you have a tire that's directional to confirm that before you mount it. I'm going to press the rim lock in and make sure that the bead of the tire sits in between the rim lock and the rim. And I can hold it there in place with my knees. Next, I'll press with my hands and shoulders to get as much of the tire on as possible. Grabbing 2 tire irons using the curved end of both, I'll place one at 10 o'clock, one at 2 o'clock, and start to work the tire onto the rim. Once I've got most of it on, it should be enough to hold it in place. I can now use a single iron to work that last section back on. I'm just focusing on getting the first half of the tire on. I'm not worried about this top area. I'm just looking at this first half, taking 2 or 3 inch bites and popping that first half of the tire on. With my arms or with my shoulders and arms, I can push this down, and now we're ready to mount the second side of our tire. I'm going to orient the rim lock near 1 o'clock, then using the flat side of a tire iron. I'm gonna insert it at 12 o'clock, flip it over, and using this nice feature, I can actually lock that lever in place, which allows me to free up my hands. Moving on over to this other side, I'm going to use a tire iron as a lever and place it through the spokes in between the tire stand and the rim lock. What this allows me to do is press down on that rim lock and sink it into the tire before I begin installing that second half of the tire. We really want to be careful of this step, because if you install the second half of the tire incorrectly with this rim lock in the wrong position, it will be bound between the bead and the rim. So with pressure, apply some pressure on that rim lock before you begin installing the second half of the tire. Using a curved end, I will place my first lever. That's usually enough to keep that rim lock in place. I like to grab a second one just to get a little bit extra bite there before I remove this iron. Now, I'm going to continue working around the tire to install the second half of the tire. Taking 2 to 3 inch bites, I can use just 2 irons to work my way around the tire. Once I get to about 4 o'clock around the wheel, I'm going to use the flat side of a tire iron and press it into the wheel and leave that during the rest of the process. What this is actually going to do is allow me to apply some pressure to this area of the tire to get that bead to sink down. It's going to come in handy in just a second. Using 2 more irons on the curved side, I can continue taking small bites, 2 to 3 inches, and working my way around the tire. I like to place the iron in, alleviate some pressure on that first iron, place the second iron, and continue repeating this process as you work around. As the tension increases in the bead, take smaller and smaller bites. And one thing that you can be particularly aware of is how this bead is sinking into the tire. I'm going to keep my eye on it, and I want to see movement in the bead. I want to see the bead, when I apply pressure on this side of the tire, I want to see this side sink down and move. Right there, you'll notice that it starts to sink down. If you get to this step and the tire is not moving, my first option is to come back here and apply a lot of pressure to this lever, make another attempt. If it's still not moving, remove your locked lever, use the arm to apply a lot of force on this side of the tire and get that bead to sink down. If you can't get that bead to sink down, you risk breaking the bead over on this side of the tire. So we want to become very aware of that area, which is now sunk down, so I can continue taking small bites. At this point, the pressure is enough that I'm taking about 1 inch bites, just using the curved side of 2 levers. And the nice part about doing this method is I started with the rim lock, so when I get to the end where all the tension is, I don't have to worry about it. You have 2 options here. You can continue working with the levers. If you can fit a lever in right there at the middle, you can do one last turn, flip that tire over. I like to make it really easy on myself. Use the tool that we have, the Neutron tire changer, to just pop that last section in. Remove your tire irons. That's the process for changing a tire using the Neutron tire changer. And tire changing is very similar to off-road riding in that it really just comes down to learning a few important techniques and tips to help the whole process just be that much more smooth. If you guys are interested in learning tips and techniques that will help you become a better and safer off-road rider, or tips and tricks to working on your bike by yourself in your own garage, head over to ridewiththeknights.com. There we have a free 1-hour training. You can also subscribe to our online course where we have over 200 training videos. We release new training videos every week, and our goal is to help riders just like you become faster, safer, and more efficient. We have an awesome community of riders working together to achieve that goal. Head over to ridewiththeknights.com and we'll see you inside the course.